Brian, you're welcome to start.
Okay, thanks. So I'll just give everybody a chance to sit down if they want to. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Navy Lane pre-construction meeting. The Public Works Department has a capital plan or capital project this year, which is the Navy Lane Drainage Improvements Project. This project that we're doing this year is phase one, or the first section of the Navy Lane Drainage Improvements Project. The town retained Greenland International Consulting Limited to complete the design for the Navy Lane Drainage Improvements Project. And the pre-construction meeting is an opportunity for the public to ask questions of staff present tonight and virtually, and to obtain information on the project along with the schedule for the start of the construction and completion of the first phase of the project. I'm Brian Murray, Director of Public Works for the town of Penetanguishene, joining remotely tonight. We also have Brad Parker from Greenland Consulting, our design engineer, which is also joining us remotely tonight. We have Jeff Hamlin in the council chambers tonight, which some of you have already met. And we also have the meeting being video recorded, which will be posted for those of the members of the public that want to view it or were not able to attend tonight's meeting. So without further ado, I'll hand the meeting over to Brad Parker from Greenland, and he'll go over a brief presentation summarizing the scope of the project. Brad?
Great. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so as Brian mentioned, this is the Navy Lane easement drainage improvements. So just a quick background, just so everyone knows where we're working. So the Navy Lane easement runs from Fuller Avenue out to Georgian Bay, towards the north end of town, right below the Central North Correction Center, I believe that's right, CNCC lands, and near the Bayfield Park, and runs east to west. So maybe I'll just come back a little bit. So the purpose of the project is that there are a lot of stormwater flows from north of Fuller Avenue flowing down and adjacent to the Navy Lane easement, creating a lot of erosion on the corridor. I think I can bring up, yeah. So I'm just going to bring up quickly a map so everyone can kind of see a little bit better. The majority of the erosion here, here we have Church Street. I'll just zoom out quickly. Here's the correctional center. So a lot of the erosion is kind of seen from the overhead, and it's a lot more significant in person, kind of rolling down through the easement towards the north end. And then it starts to leave the easement onto private lands, which are owned by the province. So generally that's the purpose of the project is to rehabilitate that erosion and bring all the stormwater back within this 10-meter easement that the town owns. So just switching back to the presentation. So the first step for the easement is to assess the hydrology. And basically the hydrology is just quantifying how much water gets to the easement, more or less. So we come up with our drainage areas. So this area here is the correctional center and areas to the east of Fuller Avenue. And most of that is, or all of that is going directly down here. This is generally the Navy Lane easement. And then we have some areas to the south of the easement, as well as west of Church Street, and those contribute down towards the easement as well. These converge at Jury Drive. So based on the areas contributing to the flows here and the catchment properties, we have about 2.27 cubic meters per second flowing at the Church Street culvert, which is approximately right in here. And then by the time we get down to Jury Drive and we add in the catchment number 16 here, we have about 4 cubic meters a second. And that's the same as it is directed all the way out to the lake. So once we have our hydrology, the next step is to do the hydraulic design, essentially how we're going to convey the water that we quantified in the first step out to the lake. So the culverts and the channels out to the lake are designed for the 100-year storm event, which is the highest protection possible. And given the size of the roads, we wouldn't typically design to such a high storm event. However, just because of the nature of the easement, you can see the slope here coming down the side of the peninsula out to the lake. The water is going to have quite a bit of energy, so we thought it was best not to overtop the road, as there would be some pretty significant washouts if the water got up there. So as the erosion is the root cause of the project, the goal is to protect the slope and the easement from future erosion. As you can see, we have very high slopes, which will cause very high velocities and a lot of energy within the water. So the design is to line the channel with a hard surface, such as concrete or another hard surface that's not going to erode away over time. Anything like rocks, riprap, just don't have the weight to stay in place with the velocity and the energy of the water coming down. So the hard surface is essentially one of our only options. And then the hydraulic design to slow the water down for it crosses Jury Drive here at the bottom is energy dissipation in the form of a stilling basin. And that creates a bit of a hydraulic jump, which I can, if you're not familiar with, I can just play a quick video here. So essentially, this is a hydraulic jump with the water coming. Nope, it's not playing. There we go. More or less, this is a hydraulic jump. Water coming down a steep slope, very low depth, and then creating a jump here. We can see in the deeper water and dissipating its energy down at the bottom. So that's excuse me, the goal of the design, to slow the water down prior to the Jury Drive culvert. And then once we're past the Jury Drive culvert, the slope is a lot more mild, as we can see the higher water depth as we move out towards Georgian Bay. All right, so this is a quick overview of the design for the Fuller Avenue crossing as well as the Church Street crossing. As Brian Murray mentioned, the phase 1 of the project that will be going this year will be from Church Street down to the lake, and then this upper portion here from east of Church Street and the Fuller crossing will be phase 2, and that will be done in a future time. either way, we have culvert replacements here to upgrade to the 100-year design storm to convey that to CMS coming from east of Fuller. Some channel improvements connecting to the Church Street culvert, which are twin 1200 diameter HDPE culverts. And then as part of this work, there will be some relocation of some town infrastructure, sanitary manholes, namely, and then some utilities as well. So the majority of the project that will be done is along the or between Church Street and Drury Drive. So this is a just a quick snippet of the design here. As I mentioned earlier, you can kind of see some of the erosion in the existing channel that's been carved out north of the Navy Lane easement, which is identified by these dotted lines going straight up and down. So to excavate out the channel, we'll create some excess soil, which will be turned around and put back in the eroded areas to fill the banks back up and restore this land to existing conditions. And then the whole area outside of the easement will be restored with topsoil, seed, and tree planting. And then, as I mentioned, the channel itself will have a hard surface, concrete, namely. Okay, and then this is the upper part here is the second half of that same stretch from Drury Drive to Church Street. Coming down, this is where the energy dissipation and stilling basin design will happen, just prior to the culvert underneath Drury Drive. And then from Drury Drive out to Georgian Bay, as I mentioned, is a lot shallower slope. So this will just be lined with riprap or potentially topsoil and sod, and then probably have some riprap as well out at the outfall towards the lake, just to avoid any erosion down there. And then lastly, there is a pedestrian bridge, which, while there's a current trail that goes from the end of Fox Street straight through now, creating a channel through that, we'll have to create a pedestrian access over top of the channel. And that's going to be in the form of a pedestrian footbridge across there. So that's kind of the project in a nutshell. It's a little technical in nature. I believe the town has prepared to start the work in the spring. Tree clearing probably soon as well. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but we'd be happy to answer anything that you may not be clear on.
Sarah, I don't know if there are any questions from the audience, but do they have to go to the podium for them to be heard over the video?
Yeah. Brad and Brian, can you hear me now at the podium?
Yep.
Okay, so the question is, Brad, what is the stilling basin going to be constructed of?
Oh, good question. So it'll be constructed of the same concrete material that the channel lining will be made out of. A stilling basin is essentially just a kind of like a low spot within the, I'll see if I can just basically draw it really quickly. So from a profile view, hopefully you can kind of see that. So you got the water coming down the slope. It'll kind of come down into a stilling basin and then up and then something like that. So that stilling basin there just creates further depth for the water to dissipate its energy. And that section there will be lined with the same hard surface concrete material that the rest of the channel is lined with.
Is there also gabion walls with that as well, Brad?
There are, yeah. There's
Yeah.
gabion walls here, and that's more so due to grading issues. When we create additional depth here, the Navy Lane easement straight across is only 10 meters wide, so it's difficult to match into existing grade within that 10 meters when we go deeper vertically. So those gabion walls just kind of help us match back into grade from that perspective.
So then the next, sorry, just to further with that, Brad, the question was, will the stilling basin hold water? So will it drain completely at the conclusion of a rain event, or will there always be water sitting in the stilling basin?
Yeah, there'll be a pipe in there to just outlet water from the low spot. There may be just like a little bit at the very bottom that you can't get out, but it's not going to be like a pool or anything like that. So that'll just continually be drawn down after the water's done running for sure.
So we're just discussing from Jury Drive to the outlet.
Okay.
So Brad mentioned that that's going to be a low slope channel. So we'll look at topsoil and sod or some gabion stone. So we won't maintain the concrete through that section. It'll just be a lower slope, so it can be treated with a different type of surface cover.
Yep, exactly.
I think we maintain a consistent width, the full length of the drainage easement. It's a 20-meter easement, I
10.
believe. 10-meter easement, sorry, all the way down. So we're looking at, yeah. Yeah, I think so. The question is, Brad, are we going to be starting from the bottom or like from the Jury Drive end or from the Church Street end? And I suspect that it'll start from the Jury Drive end, and then they'll work their way up the slope just because the topography is so difficult to work down. So
Yeah, like from the actual construction perspective.
yeah,
Typically the contractors are kind of free to do it however they like. We're not generally allowed to tell them how to do their work, but I would agree with Jeff. I think the way to approach it would probably be from Jury Drive and up.
yeah, right, right. No. Yeah, so I think we've initiated a tree services contractor to come in, yeah. Yep, to come in and remove those trees so that we're prepared to put shovels in the ground once we've assigned the project to a contractor. So if it's early spring that we can get them going, and then they'd work in that jury drive to the outlet phase, which because they don't have the challenges of the hill, I would assume that piece would go a little bit quicker. And then, the slower progress would be up the steep embankment.
Right, Jeff, I'll just add to that. So we are anticipating to get our tree removal contractor, Davy Tree Service, to remove the trees within the Navy Lane corridor from Church all the way down to the waterfront by the end of March. We anticipate it'll probably take about 2 to 3 weeks to complete. And because of the migratory birds window and the species at risk windows that permit tree removal up until the end of March. So that'll be the next kind of critical path to the project to get the trees down within the corridor, so that we're outside of those migratory bird windows and the species at risk windows. And we're anticipating to have sedimentation control fencing start either late next week or early next week from our construction services contractor, and they'll be installed, starting to install that next week, and it'll involve siltation fencing being erected with surrounding the corridor, basically all the way down from Church Street all the way down to the waterfront. So that they'll get that completed, and the tree removal contractor will come in shortly thereafter to fell the trees.
Yes.
I know what kind of just line
Mess that's going to make, yeah.
That's not well,
Right.
but
Yeah, it'll be done. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think ideally first phase of the project would be done in 2024. But the project itself poses a lot of challenges. So we're going to be having to work hand in hand with the contractor, about when they come on site and look to see the challenges that they're going to be dealing with. They might come to us and say, there's no way that this could realistically be done in the time frame, like in 2024, or the approach that they take might allow them to move faster than we anticipated. Ideally, we'd like it done in 2024, but yeah. This year will be Jury Drive, and we'll be doing Church Street as well. Yeah.
Just for the benefit of I guess the broader audience there, Jeff, what was the question?
Just looking to get a better understanding of the timeline of the project of phase one anyway. So
yeah, we fully expect to get the first phase done this year. The project, while it does pose its challenges, the construction of it is at least from the waterfront to Jury Drive is fairly straightforward. There are some utility relocations that need to be completed. There's a hydro pole at the intersection of Jury Drive where Brad is pointing to right now that will need to be relocated. So we anticipate to have that relocated before the contractors on site. There's also a Bell and Rogers box directly across from that pole on the west side of Jury that needs to be relocated. That's less of an issue than the pole is, but still needs to be relocated. And there's also a sanitary sewer and manhole that needs to be relocated on the Church Street portion where the twin culverts will cross. So some utility relocation work that needs to be done before that infrastructure can be installed. But again, as Jeff indicated, it does present its own challenges logistically, especially in the section between Church and Jury, because it is so steep in those locations, and there's not a whole lot of room to work with. but nothing that would suggest that it can't be done within the 2024 construction season. Was there any other questions, Jeff?
No, I'm just looking out into our audience here. No, we don't see any more questions there. Brian or Brad?
I didn't ask, did Sarah note if anyone joined online, or is there anything like that?
No, we just opened up an invitation for yourself and for Brian.
Oh, okay. So there won't be any online questions. Okay.
No, so we'll post this video, or it'll be available on our YouTube channel for anybody that wants to see it after.
Okay.
Great. Again, before we close out the meeting, I guess those members of the public are welcome to stay and ask questions of staff. Again, to update or provide a general, I guess, notice to members of the public or residents that if you do have questions or concerns before or during the project, please reach out to either Jeff Hamlin, myself, or and we can answer any questions you may have. And if you know of anybody that has questions, feel free to get them to contact or reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, if there's no further questions there, Jeff, again, members of the public can stay and ask questions, or and we'll sign off.
Okay, I'll close up the meeting in the virtual aspect anyway.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Good night.